Has it ever crossed your mind to know what it's like to have a female serial killer in your area? Better yet, has it ever occurred to you to Google or to look a female serial killer up? Well, it has been noticed that throughout history, women have been taken out of the spotlight. They are seen as codependent, emotion-driven human beings in almost every aspect of life. In crime, female killers have also been underrepresented. Some even eliminate the possibility of female involvement. And with this being said, let's jump into today's story, which is going to cover an odd yet a very compelling Mexican female criminal called Juana Barazza. She is also known as the Old Lady Killer or Mataviejitas, who manipulated the authorities for being a woman. So if you are interested, stay tuned because we are going to present to you Juana's evolving from a simple human being into one of the most wanted criminals in Mexico. But before we start, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell to turn on notifications. Juana Barazza was born on the 27th December 1957 in Epazoyucan, a rural area north of Mexico City. Barazza comes from a very poor family and a collapsed environment. Her mother, Justa Sampiero, was known as an alcoholic who repeatedly exchanged her daughter's body for 3 beers to a man named Jose Lugo, who raped and abused the little girl for about 4 years, impregnating her twice at the age of 13 and 16. Likely, both pregnancies resulted in miscarriages. Barazza moved to Mexico City after her mother passed away, but life in the city for Juana was not at all different from where she grew up. She underwent several failed marriages as well as gave birth to 4 children. Her eldest died while in a gang shooting when he was 24. Being a single mother, Juana held a variety of jobs, one of which was wrestling. She was a professional wrestler under the ring name of La Dama del Silencio, the Lady of Silence. "Because I am quiet and keep myself to myself," she once stated when asked about her name. She was interested in lucha libre or free fights. This type of fighting typically involves titanic battles between fighters with cartoon character names and costumes who are identified as either good guys who fight by the rules or villains who break them, using dirty tricks and lack of technique. Juana was once asked in an interview by a major television channel at a wrestling event about which category she saw herself belong. Barazza described herself as a villain to the core. In 1995, Juana was on the verge to hit rock bottom, especially after having her first child. Hence, she began stealing items from shops and later turned into housebreaking. In 1996, she and Araceli Tapia Martinez hatched a plan to steal, but it wasn't like any regular burglary. They aimed at stealing from the elderly. They dressed in white like narcissists to gain access and trust of their victims who lived alone. Now what Juana didn't plan for was a backup plan, because her partner ratted her out. Tapia was in a relationship with a corrupt federal police officer, Moises Flores. They concocted a parallel plan to extort Barazza. The police officer demanded 12,000 pesos in return so as not to arrest her. In 2000, Barazza partially retired from wrestling, for she earned 300 to 500 pesos per fight. Thereby, the financial situation became more desperate and Juana needed a plan to feed her children. But hold on, you see, by the year 2000, Juana had already made up her mind concerning how to get money. To make it crystal clear for you, 2 years earlier in 1998, an unexpected change happened in the death of the elderly, and word has gone out, making people assume a serial killer was behind all the murders. The police though took no action due to the lack of evidence, but on the other hand, Juana was impressed by the rumors, which inspired her to commit her first murder. Her victim was Maria de la Luz Gonzalez Anaya, killed on November 25, 2002. Gonzalez drove Juana angry by disrespecting and diminishing her, and before she knew it, Juana had taken Gonzalez down, beating and strangling her to death. In fact, Juana's wrestling background made it much easier for her to subdue the victims. Barazza didn't commit any murders for the following 3 months. Nonetheless, starting from 2003, Juana's murders became more and more frightening, targeting those above 60 years and affirming the public speculations that it was a tall person with rough factions who was posing as city council nurse or social worker. Meanwhile, and although the police had enough proof to announce that a serial killer is on the loose, they remained silent, as the crimes occurred simultaneously with Mexican elections. This is to say that both parties were holding the murderer as a weapon against each other. Not until the following year that they publicly recognized a serial killer. By that time, Juana had already become more efficient executing her murders, receiving help from a taxi driver who was her boyfriend and her associate at the same time. At this point, murdering for Juana had become a pleasure, or even a means of self-relief. However, her urges of killing led her to be blinded, as the crime she committed in 2005 was the beginning of her end. On September 25, 2005, Juana targeted an 82-year-old Carmen Camelia Gonzalez Miguel, an upper-class woman and the mother of prominent Mexican criminologist Luis Rafael Moreno Gonzalez. The police launched an operation under the name Operation Parks and Gardens. Indeed, the officer patrols in the areas where the killer was active increased, and the local police addressed the elderly, advising them to take their precautions around strangers. The police also tried to take the killer down by setting up a bait. The authorities actually paid elderly women to wander around the parks so as to solicit the criminal. On another attempt to catch Barazza, police assumed that the killer was a transgendered due to witnesses' descriptions and arrested 49 prostitutes who were all released when their prints didn't match those collected from the crime scenes. Having achieved no progress in the case, the local police sought the collaboration of the French police as Juana matched a French homosexual serial killer from the 1980s. Thierry Paulin, aka the Monster of Montmartre. Thierry also targeted elderly women, killed them, and eventually robbed them, but Thierry was more extreme than Juana. He would savagely torture them each time with a different approach. As you can note, the problem was that the police did not give it much thought that the killer could be a female rather than a male or transgendered. Therefore, they were on the wrong track with their investigations. Juana noticed that things has escalated a little, so she decided to cool things down by laying off the killing for some time, which made the authorities as well as the people believe that the killer committed suicide and that they were finally off the hook. Nonetheless, on 25 January 2006, Juana killed a lady called Ana Maria de los Reyes Alfaro. After being welcomed into the victim's house for a glass of water, Barazza grabbed the stethoscope, which was a tool that she frequently used to kill her victims. Anyway, Barazza strangled Maria and snuck out. But as she was hurrying out from the murder scene, a resident observed her rushing. He also noticed the corpse of his landlord nearby. He chased her all the way and eventually informed the authorities. Juana was shortly afterward detained. Juana's story came to an end after terrorizing Mexico City for 4 years or thereabouts. The little old lady killer's arresting news spread fast. In Mexico, elderly people cherish a very valued position in society, meaning that the act of killing them would intrigue as well as frustrate the whole community. Juana was believed to have taken 42 to 48 lives and maybe more, but the authorities could link her to only 32 murders in Mexico City. Eventually, in 2008, she was charged with 16 murders and 12 robberies, which was tied to through her fingerprint evidence. Juana pleaded guilty to just one murder, the one of strangling Reyes, the one in which she was caught red-handed stealing. I got angry when asked about her motive. Barazza was sentenced to 759 years in prison, but she will be paroled regardless in 2058, at the age of 100, giving her good behavior in prison, as the Mexican Supreme Court stated that all persons sentenced to life imprisonment or lengthy prison term, 200 years and above for example, must become eligible for parole after one has served between 40 to 60 years. As stated earlier, Juana Barazza was raised in a poverty-stricken village and certainly has a difficult and traumatic background, which often typifies cases of mental disturbance. This is to highlight the subtle yet deeper psychological problems that drove Juana to commit such ugly crimes. Miguel Ontiveros, the criminologist associated with Juana's case, believed Barazza was so damaged by her experiences with her mom that she ended up targeting old ladies because she identified them with her mother. Within the same context, Barazza's own relationship with her 4 children by 3 different fathers seemed remarkably stable if marked by tragedy. Barazza supported the family through a mixture of domestic work, street vending, and petty theft. According to her lawyer, Juana is proud to say that she has kept things going on her own. She is proud of being both a father and mother to her children. Juana is considered to be the first Mexican female serial killer. Society obviously was not ready for such shock. Elena Azaula, a criminal anthropologist, stated concerning this matter, a Mexican woman killing even just one little old lady is virtually unheard of. How much our society must have changed if it can produce a female Matavejitas. So our episode has come to an end, but before we call it a day, we would like to know to what extent do you agree with Elena? Would it make any difference if it were a female or a male that committed the crime? Would it help to change a single thing? Let us know about your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss more videos of crime and mysteries and much more interesting stories. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.